will proceed for demonstration. You have to know how to write and what to say, how to say, and how to perform. Then we will demonstrate you the how to examine GI system. So I am not going into the details of history taking. There are other classes about with history taking. So I will start from examination proper. Examination of GI system. So first of all, you can write the point, and we will discuss this point during our demonstration class in next class. So first of all, examination of upper GI system. Don't forget to say, don't forget to write examination of upper GI system. This is very important. So GI system start from mouth. So you have to examine, you have to say that I have examined patient lip, teeth, tongue, buccal mucosa, tonsil, palate, uvula, oropharynx with the help of torch, tongue depressor, whatever available. Then you should write, or you you should write in your examination paper examination of lower GI system, especially at the examination of abdomen. So first of all, you have to ensure where are you. You should stand right side of the patient. These are very important points. And when I demonstrate the examination of abdomen, lower GI system, so these points I will not going to tell you again. So you should write, you can take a note that your position is very important. You can change your position for some special circumstances like tangential inspection of abdomen, inspection of other system, or palpation of spleen from left side, hooking method, etc. Otherwise, you should not change your position. You should stand on the right hand side of the patient. Then you should explain what you are going to do to the patient with his or her own language. And then if patient is female attendant is very essential point, especially if you are a male examiner. And next, make patient comfortable before any kind of examination you will going to do. So the next point is exposure of the abdomen. This is very important. Exposure. You should ensure the whole abdomen is exposed or not. And you have to exposed from mid chest to mid thigh. Note it down, mid chest to mid thigh. Why mid chest to mid thigh? Because there may be some injury mark in chest, left side of the chest, and It will help you to diagnose a case of splenic injury, liver injury, any blunt trauma abdomen, etc. And why mid-thigh? Because you have to inspect, palpate the inguinal site, the hernial site, and genitalia. So you have to expose from mid-chest to mid-thigh. Then you will start examination. So like other system, there are four important headings to examine abdomen: inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultation. Inspection. So you have inspect the whole abdomen. So first of all, shape of the abdomen. You can keep a note. You can note down these points. So shape of the abdomen. Usually there are different types of shape of abdomen. Scaphoid, retracted. So normal shape is not defined in any textbook. It you can say it is neither retracted nor distended. Abdomen may be distended. Usually in case of CLD, in patient of ascites, abdomen is distended. So it is neither distended nor retracted. So normal shape of the abdomen. Second thing, after shape of the abdomen, it is umbilicus. So there are so many, there are 5 or 6 points when you are going to inspect umbilicus, you have to remember. So position of the umbilicus. And then any venous prominence around umbilicus, any discoloration around umbilicus, any nodule around umbilicus, whether umbilicus is slit-like, inverted, everted, everything has its significance. Any sinus around umbilicus, and any umbilical hernia discharge, this also you should examine, you should inspect during inspection of umbilicus. Next, flanks, whether it is full or not. Flanks may be full, may not be full. Next, venous prominence. And I will discuss about venous prominence in palpation. So inspection, the site of venous prominence is very important. You have to look where it is, whether around umbilicus, whether in flanks, whether venous prominence also seen in lower limb, whether venous prominence also seen in chest, upper limb, face. You have to look these things about venous prominence. Venous prominence is very important for your purpose, and there are so many questions examiner used to ask. Examiner used to ask in your exam for venous prominence. And next, any visible swelling. So there are so many points. There are 5 or 6 points you have to check during inspection if a swelling, localized swelling is noted, like site, size, shape, margin, skin over the swelling, and movement of the swelling with respiration, and rising test. Its significance, the significance of rising test is to uh, ascertain the swelling is intra-abdominal or superficial. I will demonstrate the rising test in my next class. So any swelling, don't tell the skin fixity, mobility, consistency of the swelling during your inspection, because these are points you should mention during your palpation, not inspection. These are not inspectory findings. These are not inspectory findings. So next point, movement of the abdomen. You should inspect three important movement of abdomen. Number one, peristalsis, peristaltic movement, any pulsation, visible pulsation anywhere in abdomen, and movement with respiration. These three are very important, three important movement of abdomen. Peristaltic movement, pulsation, and movement with respiration. Next, you have to look for hernial site, genitalia, and back and spine if necessary. And other point you have to look during inspection, any scar mark, any stria, etc. Pigmentation, during inspection of abdomen, you have to remember. Next, palpation, palpation of abdomen. This is also important, palpation of abdomen, and there are two broad categories of palpation. One is superficial palpation and one is deep palpation. Superficial palpation, there are some points. Number one is temperature. Number two is tenderness. Number three is any parietal edema. Number four, any superficial swelling. Number five, direction of venous flow. And number six, consistency of the abdomen. And these are the important points you have to look or keep in mind during superficial palpation. So number one is temperature. You should check temperature in 4 quadrant of abdomen and also compare it with other body surface of the patient, like hand or leg, with the dorsum of the hand especially. I will demonstrate you in my next class how to check for temperature, how to check tenderness. So superficial palpation, number one is temperature. So what are the 4 quadrants of abdomen? two upper quadrant and two lower quadrant. Upper right quadrant, upper left quadrant, lower right quadrant and lower left quadrant. There are other quadrant of abdomen. I will come soon to that quadrant. But during examination of temperature, these four quadrants you should think and you should check. From left lower quadrant, you should move either clockwise or anti-clockwise, and also you should compare with normal or other surface of patient. That's maybe hand, that's maybe leg, etc. So this is temperature. Now tenderness. For tenderness also you should start from left lower quadrant or right lower quadrant, and you should check this four quadrant. This is superficial palpation. I am not going into detail of deep palpation, rebound tenderness. These will be discussed during discussion of deep palpation. So superficial palpation, just you have to check four quadrant for tenderness. And then consistency of abdomen. Usually the consistency of abdomen is soft, elastic in nature. But in case of any hollow viscous perforation, peptic ulcer perforation, the abdomen became rigid, cardboard like rigidity. So you have to check about the consistency of the abdomen. Now you have to check the direction of venous flow. I will demonstrate. This is very important. Direction of if there is any venous prominence. So palpation is nothing but the confirmation of your finding of inspection. So if you get any venous prominence in flanks, around umbilicus, in chest, so you have to check the direction of the flow in veins, in that veins. So it is a part of superficial palpation. So before going to check the direction of venous flow, you should ask the patient to sit and stoop forward and to cough. This is very important. Ask the patient to sit, stoop forward and cough. It will make the veins prominent. And now you will check the direction of flow. What is the necessity? Because there are three important causes of venous prominence in abdomen. One, portal hypertension. Second is SVC obstruction or superior vena cava obstruction, and third is inferior vena cava obstruction. So the direction of venous flow will help us to diagnose superior vena cava obstruction, portal hypertension, inferior vena cava obstruction. So we have to check the direction of venous flow. So in case of portal hypertension, the direction of venous flow will be always away from umbilicus. In case of SVC obstruction, the direction of flow always below upwards. And in case of IVC obstruction, inferior vena cava obstruction, the direction of flow above downwards. So how can we differentiate between these three? So our reference point is umbilicus, and we should check, or we should differentiate first between whether it is due to portal hypertension or due to SVC obstruction. So umbilicus is our reference point. In case of SVC obstruction, the direction of flow is below upwards, and in case of portal hypertension, direction of flow always away from umbilicus, so above umbilicus. In case of SVC obstruction, in case of portal hypertension, in both cases the direction will be away from umbilicus or below upwards. But below umbilicus, our reference point is umbilicus, below umbilicus, so we have to say that we should select a vein below the level of the umbilicus to differentiate between portal hypertension and SVC obstruction. In case of SVC obstruction, the direction of flow below umbilicus in any vein, in any prominent vein, it will be below upwards towards umbilicus. But in case of portal hypertension, the direction of flow will be away from umbilicus or above downwards. So we can easily differentiate between SVC obstruction and portal hypertension by examining a prominent vein below umbilicus. And in case of diagnosis of IVC obstruction or portal hypertension, to differentiate between IVC obstruction and portal hypertension, we have to choose a vein above umbilicus. So in case of IVC obstruction, the direction of the flow, it will be above downwards, and the direction of flow in case of portal hypertension will be below upwards, away from umbilicus. So by these methods we can differentiate between these three. Our reference point is umbilicus. If we going to differentiate between SVC obstruction and portal hypertension, we should choose a vein, a prominent vein below the level of umbilicus. And in case of differentiation between the IVC obstruction and portal hypertension, we should choose a vein above the level of umbilicus. This is very important. And the second point is the location of vein. So in case of portal hypertension, the venous prominence will be around umbilicus. So it is known as caput medusae, prominent superficial vein around umbilicus. But in case of SVC obstruction, the prominent vein are located in flanks, in abdominal wall, chest wall, upper limb, face. There may be congestion in face, and venous prominence also in face. There is a SVC syndrome, I think SVC syndrome. So by observing the location, we can also differentiate between SVC obstruction and portal hypertension, the location of prominent vein. We can also differentiate between IVC obstruction and portal hypertension by observing the location of the vein. In case of IVC obstruction, the prominent veins are located in abdomen, in flanks, and also in lower limb, not in upper limb, not in chest, not in face. So location is also important to differentiate between these two. So venous prominence, this is very important, how to differentiate between these three. I will demonstrate how to check for direction of flow in prominent vein in my next class. And this is very important that asks the patient to sit up, stoop forward and cough out to make the vein prominent first. Then you will going to examine, inspect, palpate the prominent vein and direction of the vein. So next our point is deep palpation of abdomen. So we have to check about any visceromegaly. So what are the viscera? What are the important visceras in abdomen? We have to check. We have to check for any hepatomegaly. So liver palpation, spleen palpation, gallbladder, kidney. So these are main 3 or 4 visceras we have to check whether they are enlarged, they are palpable or not. I will demonstrate you in my next class how to palpate liver, how to palpate spleen, gallbladder, kidney, etc. But you have keep in your mind some important point before you going to palpate liver, before you going to palpate spleen. So I should complete the point first, then I will going to discuss the point of liver palpation, spleen palpation, kidney, gallbladder, etc. So what are the other points of deep palpation? Number 1 is visceromegaly. And we have to check some other point in deep palpation, and these points are very important. These are palpation of cough impulse in hernial site. These are also important point of deep palpation. And before that, you should ask the patient to stand and cough. You can also inspect cough. These are important in surgical cases, basically. But you should keep in mind, the examiner can ask in case of any medical case also. So this is also important that you should check cough impulse during deep palpation. Now percussion. So 3 or 4 important point of percussion. In general, abdomen is tympanitic on percussion. But there is other causes of abnormal percussion over abdomen. You have to check about the upper border of liver dullness during percussion. This is very important, and usually we forget to check the upper border of liver dullness. It is usually found in fifth intercostal space, right fifth intercostal space, upper border of liver dullness. There may be obliterated upper border of liver dullness, or there may be due to some abnormality. I will going to discuss that abnormality. So what is the significance of checking upper border of liver dullness? So other point you have to look during examination of abdomen are percussion over the band of colonic resonance, and last but not the least is shifting dullness. Shifting dullness is applicable if there is free fluid in abdomen, and at least 1.5 liter of free fluid is essential to elicit shifting dullness. So what is the importance of upper border of liver dullness? Examination during abdominal examination or GI system examination. So it is usually found over right fifth intercostal space. So if we find it in right fourth intercostal space, so what is the significance? And if it is found in sixth intercostal space, right sixth, what is the significance? So if we found upper border of liver dullness in fourth or third right intercostal space, then it signifies any right-sided basal pneumonia, any right-sided subdiaphragmatic abscess, any right-sided pleural effusion, basal effusion, basal pleural effusion, basal pneumonia, pleural effusion, subdiaphragmatic abscess. So these are the importance. So these pathologies occupy the space in between the liver and diaphragm or the lower part of right lung, and it mimic that upper border of liver dullness is shifted above, as if shifted above. And what is the significance of getting upper border of liver dullness in sixth right intercostal space? So there are some conditions which signify that upper border of liver dullness shifted to sixth intercostal space. So what are the significance? Number one is if there is any pneumoperitoneum artificially created or during hollow viscous perforation. So there is air between diaphragm and liver. Or if there is colons, band of colonic resonance interfere in between the diaphragm and liver. or if there is visceraptosis, that is there is shifting of liver in a bit lower position. It is a normal variant. So 2 or 3 differential diagnosis of shifting of liver dullness from fifth right intercostal space to sixth intercostal space. That is pneumoperitoneum, band of colon in between diaphragm and liver, and visceraptosis. And now the shifting dullness, another important point of percussion, shifting dullness. Shifting dullness I will demonstrate it in the next class. At least 1.5 liter of fluid is essential to demonstrate shifting dullness. And another important point you have to check during percussion, that is full bladder. It is the suprapubic region is usually dull if full bladder is present. Next point of abdominal examination is auscultation. And there are 2 or 3 important points you have to remember. That is peristaltic sound. You have to auscultate for peristaltic sound, whether it is present or not. Next important point of auscultation is any bruit. Is it present or not? It may be a hepatic bruit. It may be a renal bruit. Next point is venous hum. And another important point for surgery, it is very important in surgical case, that is subcussions plus. It also important for medical case. And last point is for rectal examination. It is not always essential. It is basically important for surgical cases, but you have in your mind that it is a point for rectal examination. So this is the scheme of examination of abdomen. So now, which I have told you, that there are some salient features, salient points you have to remember before you going to palpate liver, spleen, kidney, etc. And for shifting dullness or fluid thrill, you should check, you can check fluid thrill if there is a tense ascites, tense fluid, at least 2 liter fluid. It may be in you demonstrate it during shift deep palpation or percussion. Anywhere, I think palpation will be the better place to demonstrate fluid thrill. So what are the point of palpation of liver, palpation of spleen, and to demonstrate shifting dullness or fluid thrill? So you have to keep in your mind that you are in the right hand side of the patient, explain the procedure you are going to do, take verbal consent of the patient, female attendant or any female patient, and you should provide proper comfort and adequate privacy. And then you should ask the patient that the patient has evacuated his bladder recently or not for urine. And then you should check, or you should start to palpate liver or spleen or demonstrate shifting dullness or fluid fill. So these are the very important prerequisites to demonstrate or palpate spleen, liver, or to demonstrate shifting dullness, fluid fill, etc. So these points are very important and you should keep in mind. And then you should start in case of supposed to be liver palpation. So it is important to check the liver span. So that to ensure the liver span, to check the liver span, you have to check first the upper border of the liver dullness. Upper border of liver dullness, it is usually situated in fifth intercostal space. And now you have to palpate the lower border. And the distance from the upper border of the liver dullness, which you have marked by percussion before, and the lower border of liver, which you checked with the help of palpation, that will be the liver span. It is usually 12 to 16 centimeter. So you have to start from right ilia fossa and ask the patient to turn his head the opposite side and take deep breath. And you have to move your hand with each of his respiration 1 centimeter above. And you should feel the lower border of the liver with the help of the radial surface of index finger. Usually there are so many other methods to palpate liver, lower border of liver. And when you get the lower border of the liver, you have to mark it, and you have to feel the consistency of the liver, surface of the liver, margin of the liver, whether liver is moving with respiration or not, and whether there is any nodularity on the surface and it is tender or not. So consistency, surface, margin, tenderness, movement with respiration, and you have to elaborate this point when you are going to describe a enlarged liver. I will demonstrate and I will also remind you this point in my next class. These points are also applicable for spleen, palpation of spleen. And you should, extra point for palpation of spleen, you should put your left hand over the left lower rib cages. and then you should start from right iliac fossa and moves towards the left upper quadrant of abdomen. So these are the salient point you should remember during GI system examination. I will demonstrate each of them, like how to check for the venous flow, how to palpate liver, how to palpate spleen, shifting dullness, fluid thrill, everything in my next class. Today I will discuss the scheme and what are the prerequisites, what are the points you should remember. And in my next class, I will demonstrate these. What are the interference of a enlarged spleen? What are the causes of hepatic enlargement? This will be part of theory classes. So I am not going into that details, but you should remember how to examine venous prominence, how to palpate spleen, how to palpate liver, how to demonstrate shifting dullness, how to demonstrate fluid thrill in GI system examination. Thank you everybody. I will demonstrate my next demonstrate these things in my next class.
Thank you, sir.